Very apparent.
Right? Yes. Some of those rounds really shouldn't have gone the way they did. Of course, that memorable Solurs and Inzem positioning in the 2v2 where we just couldn't put our, minds to it, right? We're trying to think why, for some reason, they were split up across the map from each other. Let's see how they do today. Speyer, of course, is the first map, and the first time I've actually casted it on a broadcast, Taylor, which is exciting for me. I can't wait to see these two professional teams play it out, see how the map works in Control.
Well, Toby, you're in for a treat. I personally am a fan of watching Speyer. Not so much during the, and maybe I was too quick to judge. We were doing the Control tournaments and, kind of map testing, if you will, during Emergence days. And Speyer was one of those map tests when, Training Grounds is still naturally in rotation. We were trying to replace Training Grounds. And the reason why is because it was kind of awkward going from Training Grounds Escalation into Training Grounds Control and having TG in back-to-back maps. For me, it wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't like it. It was kind of a pet peeve, if you will. But Speyer has grown on me. It really has, because it's a punishing map, but it's a map where you get to see the best team-oriented play shine through. If you play as individuals here, you're not going to be successful, Toby. So that's what makes me excited to watch Hive here, because every time you get to see that teamwork shine through. You do see individuality, especially with certain players like TJ or Inzem specifically going and trying to get the break on the hill. But yeah, the best teamwork makes the dream work on Speyer specifically. And that's where Rebel might fall a little bit short. We've seen great individual play style from them. Huge pop-off moments from Identivez and Crack, but not so much as a team. And that's where I think they're going to fall short on Speyer.
And it was very clear watching Hive yesterday in Control against Noble that they like to keep things fast-paced, right? They like to keep things chaotic. Yes, still organize it during all of that, but if Rebel aren't on the same page, if their slaying game is slightly off and they're not really communicating, I think Hive could just simply run away with this because they were on fire yesterday. It was only as close as it was just because Noble was playing absolutely out of their minds on the Control maps. And so, yeah, I think as you described, Speyer is just as punishing as TG. Alarm bells go off my head because, honestly, Hive were insanely good, insanely fast yesterday, most importantly. Rebel need to be able to keep up with them today.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to do so. Hive has definitely taken some losses on the chin when it comes to Speyer, without question, but I still think that experience and those reps are going to help. Plus, Rebel is, definitely been struggling. But this first hill, though, is going to be telling. You got the nades that's going to be inside Chapel, and also, too, of course, with the first hill, it sets you up correctly. And this is going to be one of those rare headbutts we're going to get to see, but Hive clearly handling their own business. They take down two members. They get the first points. Meanwhile, though, on the opposite side, Addvers will get that drop shot. It only has one rocket, so something to take note of. And you got to really think, just like the boom on District, Toby, do you save it? Do you, utilize it right away? That's a heavy decision. You got to, that weighs on your mind.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. Addvers actually getting taken out there. I believe the drop shot was backpack. Does it matter, though, as Rebel do collapse through the center, and they do successfully take the hill. Very well played indeed, despite all that difficulty Solurs was creating over by the well there. And honestly, that strat worked out for me. That was really well played from Rebel. They clearly chose, hey, let's just go all in on the drop shot, rotate, run the spawn, and go from there. And it was an excellent attack. And now they're actually successfully defending in the spawn. Addvers all the way back, keeping his distance from the shotguns, rolling further away, and TJ just about getting downed alongside Inzem there. It's a good hold so far from Rebel.
These corner hills are incredibly punishing. We'll see the first one start to come into play in just about 8 or so seconds, and obviously the rotation is well underway, and a big headbutt between Rebel and Hive. And I will say, good on Rebel. Despite losing that initial team fight off the rip over at Chapel, they managed to make the most of it and ultimately win their fight to, come over here and be successful and keep the round within just mere points. Still very early, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of lead shifts and lead changes as we go along, but, Rebel, that slaying power coming to the forefront. Crack doing very well. Identivez himself doing just as well, too. And at this point, Rebel in the hill. Hive looking to go for a break.
Yeah, Rebel have worked so hard for this hill, haven't they? Just kept wrapping around that spawn, trying to push into the left-hand door. Now Hive straight off spawn, though, and a very good spawn of that straight across. Numbers quickly falling, actually, for Rebel and Crack and Identivez. Their only choice, really, is to wait out for respawns. TJ trying to push out. He's been lit up completely, though, from the right-hand side. Identivez, great job from him getting the down, but no, Solurs will save the day, and that's so important, Taylor, because map control will be held. They will have a clean angle now down onto Kardia and Addvers. Solurs to completely pinch them with Lancers, and that will pretty much guarantee the rest of those points there, and even open them up for a drop shot pickup soon.
Yeah, TJ and Solurs doing exactly what they need to do, and that's going to be a big spot to kind of pay attention to for multiple hills. And the reason why is because you can just see so much of the map. And obviously, you mentioned a drop shot, Toby, and wisely so. TJ Solurs helping his teammates get that chip damage ultimately, so the teammates who are up close to the drop shot can get the chunks, move in, get the drop shot for themselves, and take it for this corner hill retake, which Hive is here early. Demise is going to use the drop to take down Crack. Kardia is also going to fall, and this hill specifically, Toby, is incredibly punishing, and Hive is set up very well. With their team fire, it's going to make it so difficult for Rebel to break this hill. Demise should have a field day at this point. He's just going to go ring around the rosy around this cover, but that chip damage not coming through as much as I thought it was going to be. I expected this to be a more dominant hold, but Rebel most definitely is going to get the break unless TJ just pops off.
No, I agree. I mean, just maybe Hive pushed up a little bit too far and didn't have the support in the backs, and now Rebel just outnumbered them, you know, simply put, on that fountain. You can't just keep running around each side and hope that you're safe when they just pinch you, right? You just don't have the resources to keep that going. But there you go. Again, Rebels, a very good push for the hill. They've done this twice now, round the corners of the map. Let's see if they can hold on to it.
We'll definitely see if they can. Rebel's gonna, or I guess I should say, we're gonna have another lead change as Rebel's gonna take the lead back in their favor. They lost it off the start. Hive got a great, at least foothold on the Chapel Hill. Rebel then retook control off of the second portion of Chapel Hill and then into the second hill. Hive retook the lead. We saw those great angles coming out from TJ and Solurs, and now in the third hill, Rebel is looking to take a little bit more of a dominant lead. It's not going to be too crazy. You see the next hill already in play, and a couple of Rebel members starting to get caught up. Why, I guess it's just going to be a straight up 2v2, and well, it's going to be lost as Rebel wins it. TJ will get the chunk. He's down, and I will say this, to Rebel's credit, Toby, when they get close and personal to Hive, that slaying power is pretty dominant, and Hive is losing more often than not when it comes to those team fights or even individual fights.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. They keep staggering them, actually, when they do get up close and personal. They did it just before this hill. Sadly, they've now lost the team fight right in front of the drop. Sure, Addvers was sneaking up, almost catching Inzem there as he turns around. Not sure if there was a call-out saving him by TJ there, but the sentiment remains on that drop shot, right? They're going to be able to set up with that weapon. They don't really need to lose any lives. Yeah, try and keep them from map control, keep your distance with cover using these frags, but don't try not to die in the process, honestly. It would be ideal just to keep everyone alive and abuse the huge chasm in the middle of the map, right, where you can just cross out and drop shot and hold the rest of the hill.
Good job from Inzem to disengage from Addvers. He takes down one player and gets away. He was full red. I thought he was going to go for a challenge. Surely he loses his life in that moment. Good line of sight at least. But when it comes to Hive, they have just about got every single point from the hill that Solurs is currently on, and he does have a drop shot in his inventory. I don't know if he's used it at this point in time, so that might come into play for a retake or even a hold as Rebel goes for the break potentially on the next. But next hill is going to be coming into play, and it looks like Hive is about to swarm in. The only players from Rebel that are there are going to be Crack and Addvers. Drop shot's going to be whipped. The hit marker comes through. Crack is going to drop, so even though the drop shot doesn't result in an instant kill, it does result in splash damage. Crack ultimately dying, and Hive, 2 hills in a row, successful off the start.
Yeah, and a bit of a score lead building up as well, surprisingly, despite Rebel's efforts and all the positive praise we've given them, right, up until this point. Now, Hive, just about their staggering Identivez. Rebel will look to push out the spawn anytime soon. Crack getting down, Addvers getting lit up as well. Not sure if there is another cross to help TJ. Yes, there is, just to his right. TJ actually opting to get out of there completely and now regroup on the hill, not allowing too easy of a push for Rebel to come through, but Crack is not letting up. He is relentless trying to push through the smoke. TJ says no, though, picks up the double. Lovely job. And now Rebel are literally all respawning at this point in time. With 30 seconds to go, Hive will be able to get a big chunk of points, Taylor, and actually a really big lead built up now between them and their opponents.
Yeah, and that lead's going to get scary. We have seen big leads like this, kind of snowball into not necessarily a dominant win, but at least when things do get close at the end, you got to kind of question if that team didn't take so much of a heavy hit in the points department, would they have been able to close that 20 or 30 point gap? That was a conversation we had yesterday between Noble and Oxygen, where it went 300 to 298. Noble had a magnificent comeback, but Oxygen was able to close it out. So once again, that might be coming into play here. Whenever it comes to drop shot specifically, we did see Rebel get their hands on it first, but Hive's been getting it ever since. But that is a big whiff from Inzem. I think he bites off more than he can chew. You can tell with his game plan. He wanted the 2-piece, but he should have at least focused on a guaranteed 1, so his teammates could have pushed up with the mismatch of a 3v2. A little bit of a misplay, but Hive seems to be recovering.
Yeah, that's for sure. There we go. The damage on Crack, right hand, easy push for them to make. Meanwhile, there are scraps going on elsewhere on the map as they try to pick up kills. Inzem cleaning up 1. And the question is, yeah, Identivez is an angle from the right. Solurs in a little bit of trouble as well. TJ literally just left to bleed out so that the opponents can't cap. Maybe he could have got a revive. Now, Addvers has to try and deal with Inzem. A huge push to make big doors. You have to go all the way wide on that right hand to try and find Inzem. But Inzem getting down in the process, though. You can see Hive just coming off respawn. Not perhaps too ideal when you've got angles coming down that railing like that. Crack is going to catch out TJ as well. And this is exactly what Rebel needed. They need a big chunk of points now to catch up. And this hill should be relatively easy to hold now, right, Taylor? They can push out on towards the middle of the map. They've got map control. And maybe even look to get the drop shot in just in 15 seconds.
Yeah, they might be able to do so. Again, you know, this is a great, or at least a great lead for Hive at this moment. Rebel is just going to have to fight back. Yeah, they're getting the scrap time, but it's not going to be enough. And with Hive rotating as early as they are, we're starting to see some big move or big misplays now coming out from Rebel. Kardia taking down Crack. That's going to hurt because you need every man possible, especially to break into this hill. Now, to give Rebel credit, once this hill was in play off the early rotation, or at least off the start of this map, Rebel did a great job. But you gotta say, Rebel has definitely been slowing down. But one thing is a positive, Addvers has the drop. Unfortunately, it's going to be whiffed. And now Hive is ready for Rebel to push in.
That's a shame. That drop shot is a big shame. I mean, perhaps a little bit too early even attempted because you need to make sure that hits on this hill when Hive are all bunched up like this. Addvers, he's trying to find a scrap from somewhere, a kill on the edge, on the outskirts of this hill, but that's not happening. Inzem has got his play at full red as well. Identivez will fall, and Inzem is coming into his own once more. Front door pretty much easily held now by the remaining Hive players at the front. But Rebel are pushing in through the middle. I see a flank potentially coming through for Inzem. No, he has been spotted. Identivez, unfortunately for Inzem, has just spawned up and gone to the right there. But we got to keep a close eye on the top left of our screens, folks, because the points lead is still building and Hive are approaching the 300 mark.
Oh, man, and Hive is also winning the fight. You see that kill feed lighting up red. Solurs looking deadly. Fortunately, we'll get finished off, but even so, Hive with that lead, you can't be too worried. Demise, a wonderful shot on Addvers, and things have started, as I said, to snowball a little bit out of control. That last hill so beneficial for Hive. Once you reach a point where you're 200 plus and you have a dominant hill from that point forward, you make the enemy team sweat, like Rebel in this case. And by the way, why is every member from Rebel pushing through Chapel with only 3 seconds left? Maybe that was just a direct route to take. I guess they were going for an easy elimination or at least a wolf pack on one solid player from Hive, but it doesn't work out to the fullest. But there is some silver linings here, Toby, and that's the fact that Rebel is here on the fresh hill and Hive is getting wiped one after the other. So potential comeback is, we might be looking at one, which would be great for Rebel fans.
Yeah, and they have to be careful now they don't lose this hill because Hive are just far too close to 300 to give up any points. A drop shot is there, though, so they do have to push up a little bit. Kardia has exposed himself to the angle from map control through that window. TJ taking full advantage of that there. But Identivez just lurking in the back. Hive, yeah, the kill feed is lighting up red, so he has time. Identivez immediately getting taken down, though. Crack, if he can stay alive here, unfortunately he can't. That would have been fantastic. Unfortunately for Rebel, Hive are just going to push on through, and they can win off this hill.
Yes, they definitely can. 20 points now less than 20 points. Rebel start ticking away. Rebel understands the severity of the situation. We got to get a touch. We just have to get in there and contest. Knowing that you can contest from the outside, Addvers is going to be picked off with the drop. Crack on the opposite end. We'll pick up one. We might be going to another hill depending, but a great nade is thrown. Hive picks up the last eliminations. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a GG. 300 to 206. Hive taking map 1.
And a very, very good game of that. It was very close, actually, in the first third, right? Back and forth, we thought Rebel were turning up very much so with the Nashes, but unfortunately for Rebel, Hive just started winning team fight after team fight. And that push at the very end on that last hill was a great example of that, right? Sometimes you just need a death ball, and it worked out super, super well. Didn't talk about it much, but of course, Demise finishing off with 18 kills there. So we got a glance of the scoreboard. Very well played from him. I mean, what are your thoughts, Taylor? For me, I think Rebel turned up very well in that first half of the map, and perhaps 300 to 200 isn't that great of a reflection, actually, of how well Rebel were playing. I think it was more so Hive just coming into their own towards the latter third and playing really well on those final hills.
Yeah, I mean, you could clearly tell Rebel did a wonderful job on the up-close and personal hills. Chapel is one of them. Off the start, they did a really good job in that headbutt, but you have to take into account off the start, neither team is really established, okay? So it's, like I said, it's and I say it all the time, it's just really that headbutt for control off the rip, get those early points. Going into the second hill, Rebel did a wonderful job again, and that was because they did such a good job in the later portions of that Chapel hill, and therefore allowed them to just wolf back into Hive, who tried to set up early, but, you know, Rebel was doing a wonderful job winning those engagements. But this is where Rebel started to get in trouble, and it was those corner hills where Hive was doing an even better job than that of Rebel, getting there early, getting spawn control, and setting up to Lancer Fire and Team Fire for each other. Another thing you can look at is Hive, more often than not, was getting the drop shot, and that's a big deal to me. But I will say this, though. It's not necessarily the biggest positive, because a lot of times we saw that drop shot both on Rebel and Hive's end being whiffed, time in and time out. And that is a reoccurring theme that I've noticed from several teams that play on Speyer. The drop shot doesn't get as much value as you would expect it to get. But either way, I think at the end of the day, it boils down to Hive playing better as a team and knowing the map more than that of Rebel, because you could tell with the angles they were taking, you know, especially rotating earlier on specific hills, which you have to do because those hills can be so punishing. Rebel just didn't know the map as much, and Hive did, and therefore that's why they take the win.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there, honestly. I think we've commented and praised Rebel for their awesome pushes, their death balling, as I term it, when you just all run in guns blazing with shotguns, and they did really well. You know, they were winning the majority of the shotgun fights during those times. But, you know, if they got to the hills first, if they got the better angles in the first place, they wouldn't have to, you know, outplay and go through that huge amount of effort to get back into the game, so to speak. And yeah, I think you really nailed it there, Hive. I think that little bit of extra experience and success on Speyer in the past is perhaps what is accountable for that 100 points difference there. But, you know, globally speaking, or in a universal sense, Hive won the map that they should have, in our opinion, right? They're just, you know, it is business as usual for Hive. In the end, they were not struggling, or going 50-50, shall we say, with Rebel with points at the start, but they pulled it back, and everything is, as it were, map 2. Both teams need to be looking towards now. Massive anymore, you just have to do it a little bit differently, and Hive is certainly a team with the chemistry, the talent, the intelligent players that they can out-strategize Rebel, right? They don't have to just fly in and hope they outstun and out-shotgun onto the low side of middle bridge. They can outplay them. They just need to have the confidence to try it.
All right, well, we'll see. I do assume the first couple of rounds are going to be a headbutt, and the reason why is because you have Rebel and Hive who are emotional-based, and they want to establish dominance. Wow, TJ got there blazingly fast. This is going to put Rebel in a spot where they have to readjust, and I know they weren't wanting to readjust. They had a plan, go for mid-bridge. That's thwarted because TJ got there so early. Great usage overall whenever it comes down to the nades, or excuse me, the stuns. That was the biggest deal. Couple of downs come into play. No finishes, so it's still going to be a 4v4.
Absolutely. That was lightning fast from TJ. Well played from him. And you could see, well played of Rebel. They all pulled out at the same time. No one got caught out. When you see amateur teams scrim on this map, Taylor, oftentimes a player or two can get downed as they're trying to exit the deadly trap of water or low side. But instead, Rebel, they've all pulled out. They were able to get the talk boat pretty much instantly, and now we have that classic 4v4 Canals gameplay. Rebel have the talk bow, and they're going to try and leverage that best they can, but thankfully for Hive, it's Execution 2.0. They'll have map control and also access to the ring when it does spawn up.
And that ring access is going to be big for me. And that's normally what does teams in. It's not often I see teams in Rebels' position where they're currently at, even with Torquebow, fight back and potentially, win this round. So I got to give a lot of credit to Hive. I think they're going to be favored here. Plus, you also have to take into account TJ has those nades, and I think he has 2 nades. I don't know if he threw one of them. He might have chunked one out, but I don't think he did. So at this point in time, Hive is my team to take the victory, but we'll find out what Rebel's going to be up to. TJ does need to be careful about not getting snuck up on, though, and that's going to be from players 6 and 7, Crack and Identivez. And Identivez is the scariest one, given the fact he has the Torquebow. So now even more nades. TJ's got nades, Solurs has nades. This is going to be a hard hill for Rebel to take.
Thankfully for them, though, it is low. It is underneath. The Torquebow is positioned there as well. The down in the process. The nades will go in. Identivez, somehow he's not dead from the nades, and the cog capture will come in during that flurry of chaos. My goodness me. That was hard keeping track of. I'm not sure how many viewers saw that at home, how many things were going on, but that Torquebow was barely used because of the fantastic utility usage, the frag grenade usage. Here's the replay as things were building up. TJ up top, lancering down. Solurs throwing in a frag grenade. Identivez didn't know how to roll or where to roll to revive and whether to pull his Torquebow in time. Going for that one shot, didn't connect. Wow. Okay, lots to keep track of there, but there you go. Well played, Hive. Fantastic round from them, and clearly they're trying it again. They're going straight onto middle bridge. TJ is there. A little bit of a challenge from the back, but here we go with the flank. Immediately, Rebel are flanking all the way around. Identivez with the Torquebow, not able to connect, and now it was almost a pinch, actually, I thought, coming from Hive, but instead, Rebel are having to regroup. Map control has clearly been gained by Hive. Frag grenades over the top, trapping one player underneath. I think if Addvers can get out, it will be a simple 3v3, a little bit easier for Rebel to try and challenge that middle bridge with less players on the map.
Man, Identivez has 9 lives, apparently. He has been full red so many times, and if he gets caught out in that second time he's full red, he's dead. No one would be there to pick him up, but after all, he gets away. He hasn't been downed yet, and like you said, it's going to be a simple 3v3, maybe better for Rebel at this point in time. Still got to consider TJ has 2 nades. Solurs has the shock as well. Crack has his own shock. In the meantime, though, Rebel taking more of an aggressive approach. Addvers is up to something, Toby, and he continues to push, and Identivez gets a connection on the TJ.
That was beautiful. That's important for Rebel. It's given them the ability to push in, and this is actually a really good pinch building up. Solurs is trapped on low side. Inzem has to do something with the Lancer right now. Hasn't been able to be quick enough to react. Addvers is holding him at bay from the Boltok area. Now only nades for Inzem to try and find a kill. He does. Will the stick come on through? Yes, it will. Composure from Danny Identivez. Well played indeed from the whole Rebel team there. A really, really good round from them.
A great round from Rebel as a whole. For example, once again, TJ, Solurs getting in mid-bridge, blazingly fast. Rebel unable to take control there, so they have to pull an audible like they did in round 1. They go underneath bridge. Now, one of the players, though, from Rebel, and I think it was Addvers, who went under bridge and immediately went for some early damage, did get first blood in that moment. I think it was him. It could have been somebody else, but regardless, though, that was a good adjustment in general, and Rebel thinking, and, instead of using the brawn, using the brain. Very well done. And it looks like we're going to have much the same thing here, but this time, Hive is looking to counter the players from Rebel going underneath bridge. So at this point, Rebel could get pincered, and the nades are going to be thrown, you'd have to assume, but either way, this is definitely going to be a round for Hive.
Brilliant down again. That's the most important down, just as Addvers was trying to get up. The nade is guaranteed to kill Addvers there afterwards. And now 4v2. Right, what would you want? Map control. Identivez is trapped on P1. He's not going to be able to get out there, I assume, because the frag grenade is hand ready to be thrown. There we go. Identivez will get down. And now it's simple. Pinch for Crack coming in now. And Hive will take yet again another round. And again, it's the map control point, right? Kind of build a bit of a storyline for Canals. It seems like the front spawn seems to be doing a little bit better for Hive in terms of getting on there fast. And immediately, Rebel are just having to be really pushed. Hey, can you get out in time? Can you get the Torquebow in time? And Hive, it just seemed in that last round, Taylor, were very aware that Rebel are going to try and get the Torquebow as they try and escape their grasp. And unfortunately for Rebel, didn't work out. Hive really capitalized.
Yeah, and well said, Toby. And again, we kind of, witnessed that with Hive sending 2 players up top, 2 players down low. and pincering in Rebel boards. This time, though, we will have a good old-fashioned mid-bridge fight. TJ's going to get the first blood. Kardia, Cracker going to drop, and Rebel might want to go back into the next round, going under bridge, which was heavily successful from them, but I must say for TJ and Co, 100% ready. And you know what? That might be a reoccurring theme again if Rebel chooses to push TJ like that, because TJ just has this uncanny ability to get there so quickly. I mean, honestly, the only person that can kind of rival that in my mind is Detox from Rise to get to mid-bridge, but TJ might be even quicker. It really is impressive. His route is impeccable.
Yeah, and not only that, he's clearly playing well today, Taylor, right? We saw that on Speyer alone. His shotgun shots are hitting full spread constantly. He's always getting that first shot in on his opponents. And here is, right? This is a journey to get to the middle bridge in time, the maximum cover slides to the corner, but Rebel are onto the middle bridge in time, trying to pinch from the back. Everyone is going all in. It is an absolute cluster of shotgun battles, but blink and you miss it. Hive do win out in the end with, I believe, 3 players left standing. 4-1 the score now, and Rebel really have to start asking themselves questions, right? We're not going to be able to just go toe-to-toe with them, even if we get on middle bridge, right? As that last round showed. So things need to change for me, Taylor. You know, perhaps you start utilizing that high side kind of base strategies that I was alluding to earlier. Perhaps try something a little bit different before you run out of time.
I agree. Maybe high side, we haven't seen that from Rebel yet. We've seen, obviously, just a headbutt in mid-bridge. We've seen them try to get the torque bow down low. This time, though, they're going to go back to what hasn't worked for them in the previous 3 rounds, and that's because TJ's been tearing it up. Will be a trade. Identivez will get out with the torque bow, and it is going to be a 3v2, so I guess if you fail, try again, and I guess eventually you'll be successful. Great connection, and that is one thing that's been pretty consistent with Rebel as a whole this week, has been Identivez with precision weapons, whether it be the torque bow, whether it be with the sniper. He is deadly. 2 connection this round, and that is going to be a big one for Rebel, given the fact that they keep Hive off of map point. Rebel has an opportunity to win the swing round, in my opinion, bring it 4-3, and they would feel a lot more comfortable. I said Crack was the player to watch out for Rebel. Clearly, this time around, it's Identivez, but it is the same story for Hive. TJ is the player to watch, and he has been the player to watch with 70 limbs.
Yeah, TJ, even in the 1v2 in the last round, he was able to get a kill despite the difficulties in front of him. And Identivez, the question is, can he keep getting the torque bow? It's going to be perhaps a difficult challenge. Let's see. Middle bridge fight once more underway, and TJ has got support this time around. Big 1v1. Inzem completely crumbling. Identivez flash rather a little bit better. Solurs 1v1 for Identivez, trying to push up. TJ comes in. The wrap will not connect. 1v3, and Identivez will fall. Kardia believes it's all over for the round as he's trapped in water. And there you go, another round again from Hive. And despite, the 1v losses there on high side and whatnot, Hive just seem to be a little bit better when they're together this map. A little bit different than we saw from Speyer, where Rebel seem to be better at doing that.
And I think it's because they just understand their default plays, what they need to do. Speyer is more fluid. Control is more fluid in general, and the team that's able to adjust and regain control is going to be obviously the victors. When it comes here, it's been clinical. Like, have we seen a different look from Hive? Not really. Maybe that one round where they sent 2 players down low to counter Rebel from under bridge. But for the most part, TJ Solurs, where have they been going the whole time? They've been going mid-bridge. They've got each other's back. In this case, much the same. 2 members down from Rebel, and that's going to be a third one. Kardia gone. Identivez, torque bow in hand, but he's in a 1v4. If he clutches this, he's going to get chunked.
Wow.
I think he did make the connection, but then Demise ended up getting the chunk in the meantime. But that's a 6-2 victory, and without question, TJ, the most explosive player, 9 eliminations. Well done from him. And, he got 11 against Vanquish, but regardless, the victory 6-1. If there's more rounds, I'm sure he would have done better. Great job from Hive. They're up 2-0. Escalation Vasgar coming up next. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the last day of the Gears Pro League for Split 3 Phase 2. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Toby Campbell. A very dominant win from Hive coming out on Canals, which arguably would be the map we expected success from Rebel. And I say success, maybe a victory or to at least keep it competitive and close. But I want to talk specifically more about the different looks we've seen from Rebel and the uniformity and kind of the same strats we've seen from Hive, Toby, because Hive, they had 2 looks, and that one look, that different look, was only seen in round 3 to counter the under bridge push from Rebel. But aside from that, it was TJ, Solurs, Demise attacking mid-bridge with a blistering speed, and TJ opening up with pretty much all the first bloods, right? That's kind of what Hive did, and they never deviated. And Rebel tried to react, but they never had the right answer.
And that's Canals for you, right? They just went through. I mean, Rebel just went through a strat book essentially for Canals. Yeah, they didn't really leverage high side best that they could, or as much as they could. No, but they had to be reactive. Is the point? You know, the entire map, because TJ set the pace of Canals there by getting up top first and then winning the middle bridge fights constantly down low. Rebel just had to always be on their toes, right? You know, are we going to get the talk boat? We can actually try and challenge this. We're going to try really hard to keep challenging TJ even if he's there first, or are we going to pull out, right? Are we going to play a bit slower? And that's kind of Canals for you. You always want to try at the very start of the map, regardless perhaps of how you're playing on previous maps, to be aggressive. You know, be aggressive onto the low side, see how well things are going. Perhaps, you know, test the water a little bit on that usual base strat. That is why it's called base strat. But if things don't start working very quickly, you need to start being reactive. And unfortunately, Rebel perhaps weren't reactive enough. You know, really some good rounds getting the talk bow early on. Yes, Identivez had some really good kills, finding kills out of nowhere with that bow. Yeah, for sure. But it wasn't enough, right? And they didn't get the talk bow enough times. They weren't able to get out enough times. Perhaps go to the drawing board with the strat book and try things a bit more unorthodox there to try and challenge the dominance there from especially TJ on Middle Bridge.
Yeah, well said, Toby. I think we kind of broke it down. That's Canals in a nutshell in its entirety, at least when it comes to that Hive Rebel matchup. And again, Rebel continues to show some weaknesses, and I think those are 100% going to be exploited when we head into the Summer Major. We're heading into map number 3. Hive has a 2-0 lead, and Vasgar Escalation won that I believe you said hasn't been won as of yet in Phase 2 from Rebel.
No, I don't think it has. And it's really unfortunate to see as well when you really think about it, because, wow, I mean, where do you go from here when you're going up against Hive? Hive are really good at this map, right? They really want to play it above all else, in fact. And now you have to really fear for Rebel. They have to win this map to stay in the game. But with how well Hive have been playing, with Rebel literally being 0-5 on Broadcast Taylor on this map, you know, 3 of those losses being 5 or worse, it's not looking good for Rebel, but perhaps they can change things today.
I hope they can. This is the time to do it, but it would be on a map we wouldn't expect them to do it on. But hey, I mean, an answer and a response is an answer and a response, no matter how you look at it. A W is a W, and you don't care how you get it, right? So this is, or at least must be, the turning point for Rebel. Off the rip, though, Hive looking pretty solid, winning their fights. Rebel looked as if they were giving some good pushback to Hive, but ultimately, some big fights are won, and Hive retakes control. Rebel's going to try and respawn off their spawn and immediately go into tank, which will be successful. They will have the 2-1, but you got now Hive sitting 3 members over, 1 member already down. That's going to be Addvers, and no one there to pick him up. Unfortunately for player 1 of Identivez, he had to back off. No reason to stay up there. He knew he was going to get swarmed on, and Hive isn't going to slow down. Again, Hive is an emotional-based team, and when they start filling themselves, and you see plays like that from Demise, you see plays like that from Inzem, they're going to continue to push the envelope, continue to push you to the brink and try and shut you down as quickly as they possibly can. And that's the Hive we're currently seeing.
Yeah, this is definitely an on day so far for me. For Hive Taylor, and it's really good to see everyone is just playing well. The shotguns are on point. Demise now trying to come in and save the day, yet he will. 3 kills now for him, and that will ensure the triple cap coming on through. Well played from him. But honestly, it was a team effort for that entire round. They were literally snowballing around the map from the very start, from the left-hand side of the map, getting the kills, wrapping all the way around to the B hill, and then eventually getting the triple cap in the end. And the kills show it, right? Only 2 kills for Rebel that entire round. Meanwhile, Hive were just going through them so easily. And now Rebel, they're probably just going to go for a very basic weapon placement on the first round, but boy oh boy, definitely do consider the weapon placements for later on this map. I feel as though you might need something a little bit more unorthodox to take down this awesome Hive squad.
Yeah, without question. Unorthodox. That's something you've been saying quite a bit, Toby, even from Canals. But I agree with you, and you were kind of a fan of that last night, too, and you wanted to see some big moves, you know, maybe a sniper in mid, right, or a torque bow up top, something that is just totally different to throw off the other team. And and we didn't get a chance to see it last night. Fair enough, right? And I think that's just alluding to the matchups we were seeing and how close they were, at least how the rounds were playing out. But maybe we will see that from Rebel. Who knows? Get a little bit loose, have some fun with it. But another great start, it seems, for the boys of Hive, and they're going to try and pull a domination here. Depending on how this 3v3 goes, with player 6 already taking Charlie, Rebel could be in trouble depending.
Yeah, they really, really could. Demise smart to pull back from the C hill. This is going to be a very big 1v. So much pressure on Crack now with Hive being aggressive on the other side too. He's just standing in the C hill. He's now pushed up against Crack. Swarm domination being threatened. Crack does push through though. Awesome 1v victory for him though. And TJ now trying to stay alive on that tank, baiting Kardia to the shot. Not going to finalize that kill elsewhere. But Rebel have won on all sides pretty much, bar an absolute miracle from TJ here at the tank.
TJ's full red, trying to stay up on his final down. He'll get finished up, cleaned up indeed, and Rebel, you know, 30-point deficit, but not the worst spot to be in. And last round, they were just really trying to survive. They weren't thriving. But in this moment, they do have a nice little defensive setup at play. And they look to be closing the vice grip a little bit. I'm looking at Kardia and Addvers maybe pushing into player number 5. You also have Identivez and Cracker trying to hold their ground. And I will say this, if Identivez and Crack, the two players you expect to pop off, make this fight happen, it could be a possibility they recover, but unfortunately, we see them get wiped off the map very quickly. Now, one positive note, though, is the fact that Kardia will take down TJ and Co. So that's going to be a good fight one from Rebel. They'll keep the 2-1, but only momentarily. You got a lot of Hive members all over the place.
Oh, Inzem tried to go sneaky, and Addvers has not paid off for him. And now Addvers is just going to sit back pretty on the A hill. Solurs being pinched. The roll will not help him. Kardia, yet again, another really important kill there, taking the position down. And now the score lead is still in favor of Rebel. They're building up on the C hill. They're holding on to the A hill. This is looking good for them, actually. You know, they started off weak on this round, but now they're clearly on their way to a win. They just need to hold out.
Need to hold out indeed, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. TJ moving in at blistering speeds, but he's going to get finished off. But there's Addvers to get the cleanup too. Solurs, full red. He's going to get taken down. This is the best chance Rebel has had to take a win. You also have a distinct 1v on the opposite end. Demise, opposite of Identivez. Identivez has to be favored in this moment. Good movement and a great kill overall. And this is quickly looking like a Rebel round, unless Hive has something left up their sleeve, and I'm looking at player 5 of TJ maybe, and also Inzem, who's going to be opposite of Identivez. So these are two fights that need to be won from Rebel.
Yeah, gorgeous shotgunning from Rebel so far. Kardia with the double, well played from him. Identivez is lurking towards Inzem. Fantastic player with that bolt talk. But Inzem, he doesn't care. He's still trying to push for that 1v. Identivez waiting for his teammate on the pinch. Kardia's there. Another teammate from the back, and it will come on through. But cast your eyes to the top left. The score is pretty damn close, actually. Hive have caught up somewhat towards Rebel, and we're approaching that 250 mark. 10 seconds to go, and they will win the B hill and even push on into the A hill. A hard-earned round from Rebel. Really, really hard work put in from them this round. But boy, oh boy, is it deserved.
Yeah, I mean, they put their nose to the grindstone. They get the victory, and I'm okay with that. I really am. Even though it wasn't the most dominant win we've seen like Hive in round 1, it's still a win nonetheless. So if Rebel can continue to play just as hard as they did in round 2, there's a very good chance they can, you know, come back and potentially make this map pretty competitive. So we'll see how it continues to unfold. Overall, though, Kardia, without question, has been 100% guiding his team to victory. 6,800 damage done. He has 8 kills across the board. When it comes to my 6 assists, net 7k damage done. Clearly putting in a ton of work alongside that of Solurs at 6,700. So Demise, Solurs on one end, and then you got Kardia on the other end. And you need players like Kardia to pop off for Rebel. We talked about it. You mentioned it specifically, Toby. We need specific players from Rebel to pop off. Crack was my guy on Canals. Clearly he wasn't in that Canals matchup versus Hive earlier, but in this case, hey, if Kardia is the one that pops off, hey, fair enough. Pop off, King. I see you. Get the victory for your team.
Absolutely so. 8 kills at the start of this round. He's doing well. Identivez, meanwhile, he's had some great moments actually in the past 2 maps. Going into this one as well, he's starting to pop off himself. But this battle for the B hill continues. Clearly, Rebel have been able to push out their foes all the way back. Kardia, nice cap of the B hill there. Now questions are having to be asked for Hive. Are they going to re-engage in this B hill? 3 players are set up there. Retro and Flash is in hand, but no. 1 player will pull off. That's number 5 on the minimap. And look towards A for a potential push. Meanwhile, Identivez and Kardia just holding out. It's going to be essentially a 2v2. And in fact, Rebel aren't done. They're trying to see if they can actually push up the staircase. Kardia does shut down Inzem and get the down on Solurs. Well played indeed.
Yeah, well played indeed, and that was a 3v2. Rebel just happened to have more teammates over there, and Inzem went for a push. Not surprising. Inzem is a player that is going to make a push regardless if the odds are stacked against him. I like that off angle from Kardia, seeing the opportunity. He doesn't pick up an Elam or a down in the kill feed, but he was also instrumental in distracting those Hive members who were trying to battle against Rebel. And Rebel, it seems as if, is in a great spot. They really are. Player 4, Addvers, he's going to be rotating over towards C. Meanwhile, on tank, though, it seems like things might be turning around, Toby, for the boys of Hive, depending. But Crack is hitting some great shots up close. Kardia's getting that DPS, and well done. Again, Rebel will hold on to control.
Yeah, honestly, Rebel have done such a good job at managing this tank battle. It's not an easy one. Hive have been literally swarming them constantly, but no, shotgun battles are coming through, and there we go. Kardia again, still alive. It seems like he's been alive for an eternity now as we see him putting in so much damage. Literally damage, 10k sin up there, but also that huge stat line, 11 kills to his name already. And it's only the 3rd round. You know, it says a lot as to how much work he's actually putting in to this map so far, Taylor.
Yeah, a lot of work indeed, and again, you need players like that to put in that hard-fought work, and I'm okay with it, I really am. This would be a big win for Rebel, an unexpected one given their history and their stats when it comes to Vasgar Escalation, but I need to see some silver linings for Rebel as a whole. Identiv's big fight against Inzem right now. At the moment, Rebel wins in 25 seconds. And Rebel, or it's fair to say, Hive needs to win this engagement so they can overextend to A. But a lot of other things need to go well, and that's going to be Solurs, who also needs to hold the ground. Regardless, though, Identivez wins that fight. It's a 1v2. Player 5 is down to TJ. Another round going to Rebel. They're going to finally take the lead, and it'll be in the way of 2-1.
This time, though, with a lot more dominance, right? A much more clear-cut who should be the victor of that one. And Kardia, I believe it was, they're emoting at the end. And for good reason. They really dominated over at that B fight from what seemed like the very start of the round. Kills are just flooding through constantly. They're always winning those all-important team fights. Individually, the shotgun battles are going the way of Rebel, even if they don't have much Lancer support fire in it for a brief moment of time. I mean, at this point, perhaps things have changed for me in terms of the weapon placement. Perhaps Rebel can just keep going after this B fight. Of course, it's the last round of the first half coming up. So definitely, if you want to focus on that tank on the second half, maybe, just maybe, put a power weapon down there, you know, after this next round. Because then you can keep the fight in that area, keep the attention, keep the resources coming, and you can keep Vasgar playing the way you like it.
All right, here we go. Heading into round 4, excuse me, the last round of the first half, Toby. And Hive, it's fair to say, wants a response, and they need one. They will be on a rival spawn, so they should have the added edge here. But to Rebel's credit, this tank fight has been going very well for them, and that was a large portion to Hive, sending only 2 members, not really fully committing for this B fight. This time around, they will match the 3 members of Rebel to the 3 members of Hive. So this is going to be more of a headbutt battle. I think kind of akin to round 1. Kardia, though, with that retro is going to be instrumental in getting the chip damage for the players of Rebel to get the finish, and that's going to force Hive back. And Rebel, they're not going to let off the gas. They're going to continue to push in, and Addvers hits a wonderful shot on Inzem. TJ around the corner, forced the retreat, doubles back in, will pick up Identivez. Addvers, though, being the hero. Solurs now kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, and really nowhere to go. Kardia should be able to close the gap, so will Addvers, and Rebel wins the 3v3 on tank once again, which they've been playing that fight picture perfect, you know, in the past couple of rounds outside of round 1.
Yeah, brilliant from Rebel, honestly. I love that push from them earlier. Let's see. No, in fact, Crack will not be able to hold out. Inzem does save the day. And now they're going to push on over to the CL. Hive already trying to counter Rebel, as Rebel countered them earlier on tank. Hive was super aggressive, trying to take down with great utility usage. That failed. Rebel continued on. And now already both teams are trying to react to one another and see how they can win this tug of war on Vasgar, as it's known for. Kardia completely lit up now from Inzem as they try to go wide in the cover, but the damage is too strong. Hive are still pushing in, they're still picking up downs, they're still picking up kills. Demise in a little bit of trouble. Crack trying to close the gap and finalize those kills. That he does, and Solurs actually has to keep track of Kardia, who's running over to his home hill.
Into the home hill in Kardia, opposite of that of TJ. TJ, who popped off not only on control of Speyer, but also clearly the MVP and the leading score leader and leading eliminations when it came to Canals' execution in that fight. And, you know, he's had a decent game here, but Rebel's been playing a little bit better. Inzem hitting some wonderful shots. Luckily, the cavalry from Hive is going to rejoin him, and this could be a domination question mark. Crack hits a great shot, and we might have yet another reset. But regardless, though, Rebels got to get on all hills within seconds, and I don't think there's going to be enough time. This is going to be a Hive round. We go into the second half tied 2-2.
That we do. That we do. Brilliant job from Rebel overall on that initial, but Hive were just a little bit too fast in their reaction, right, weren't they, across the other side of the map, pushing in as a team, and it all just snowballed from there. Honestly, an impressive first half from both teams. They were really actually competitive Vasgar. You know, we didn't expect to necessarily see this, did we? Predicting that Hive would at least go into this map a little bit more confident based on past matches. But, you know, when bringing up the stats, Kardia and Identivez doing really well. The only two players on double digits. Meanwhile, Hive quite a bit less kills, but they have got the similar damage done stats, of course, and they have got the 2 rounds to show for their hard work. In terms of the weapon placements, as you can see, nothing too complicated. Shot grenades are going down. Let's see if Rebel will continue to be as successful on these initials with these new new hills in place.
Well, this is the side to do it on, without question. If Hive wins this round, it's going to be pretty concerning because theoretically they are on the more disadvantaged side, where Rebel is on the advantage side. So this is a big win for Hive, and I think a must-win for Rebel in my mind. We will have 2 distinct 2v2s on opposite ends of the map. And, you know, whenever it comes to the tank fight, right, we're not going to see that big battle. And the reason why is because there's really nothing to fight for aside from getting over towards F or 4D. But either way, the fight must go on. Good cross from Kardia to take down Inzem on the opposite end. It looks like Hive is doing a much better job. And I got to say, though, they need to win this, and they will. But either way, for Rebel, off the initial, they will strike. They just barely, you know, narrowly missing the opportunity to get a domination. But they've got the 2-1. And Identivez is by himself again. Identivez is playing like a madman. He's 11 kills deep. Kardia is 13 kills deep. But again, Rebel needs star players like this to pop off.
Yeah, I think it's a similar storyline to Speyer. It's just Hive are perhaps a little bit more well-rounded. They're able to react a little bit better. When Rebel aren't winning the initials, when they're not winning the shotgun battles, Hive just seems to walk all over them, right? And it goes to show just on this double cap scenario, Hive immediately taking back the 2 hills after that initial, and now Rebel actually in a world of hurt. You know, where do you go from here? Do you just fly at Hive as fast as you can over at the E hill? Yeah, sure, you can try it, but historically in this matchup, it's been very difficult for them to go through with that if they're not already in a place of numbers advantage. Let's see, Hive pulling all the way back. Meanwhile, Inzem winning over at the tank, so they do get the E hill back, but they lose the F hill in the process.
Enemy spotted.
And where's Rebel going to allocate their numbers off of this push? With Hive retaking control in a spot where Rebel didn't need Rebel to, or it should be Hive to retake control. Now Rebel's going to have to fight extra hard, and I guess the fight is going to be onto F. They do get the decap. Solurs, I'm curious, when is he going to push up? When is he going to feel confident enough to do so? And honestly, does he even need to do so at this moment? Well, we're going to have a bit of a pause there and more of a battle between Demise and Co. as Kardia will push onto TJ, missing some shots. TJ will capitalize. That's 2 down now. Crack will answer back to pick up 1. And that was a big fight that TJ wins. Crack needed to win that to secure D. At this point, Hive, they've got a really good point lead. They've won the fights for the hills that they needed most. And Rebel really backs against the wall. This is a do or die moment for them. They have to be successful in every engagement they get into from this point forward.
For sure. 12 seconds on the clock. They are getting the downs. They do need to clean up the kills, though. They do need to get the breaks in the hill. Meanwhile, F hill still held. E hill now being threatened for the triple cap. 2 seconds on the clock. Surely can Rebel hit just 1 hill? Does it matter? No, it does not. The score will come on through. 3-2 now, Hive taking that first round. And yeah, you mentioned it, Taylor. Think about the sides. Advantage Hive now. And if they can just go ahead and secure the easier round next, right, and take it to a 4-2 lead, then it could be looking like a 3-0.
Yeah, I think it could be looking like a 3-2-0 again. This would be a big shocker to me if Rebel wins this map. Now, one thing Rebel does like to do when they fall behind is place a sniper on tank. I don't foresee that happening here. The reason why is because they don't have the arrival spawn. But I will say this, though, a little bit of foresight. If Hive wins the next round and they lead 4-2, there's a very good chance we will see Rebel place that sniper on tank, and they're going to go for the quick pick, which is something that they kind of love to do. That's kind of their specialty. So for Rebel, what's the game plan? Like, what are we going to be doing here? Well, they are going to have the advantage once again in this 3v2 fight on to tank, and I think they realize that, but things could quickly shift here depending on how TJ plays, and he's all over the place, baiting and switching and heading over towards D as quickly as he can. Player 7's going to be there, so things could get pretty weird at the moment, especially with Addvers losing the fight. Hive is trying to go for a quick domination.
That they are. Surely Rebel can be able to take down Solurs without too much support. Yeah, and there we go. The spawn comes in from Crack. Meanwhile, though, regardless of that triple cap scenario, 2 caps currently to Hive's name. Players positioned quite advantageously, actually, to make sure they can stay alive, wait for respawns. Rebel starting very much off the bat on the back foot. Identivez trying to push through for right hand. The pinch will come on through, but TJ is saving the day. Out of nowhere, he'll get the 2v2. Crack will fall, and just about Addvers now saving the day for his side. As Solurs now has a lot of trouble in front of him. Rebel continuing to try and snowball with their numbers off spawn. But can it come on through? Solurs just trying to buy some time.
Solurs needs to buy time. He really does. At the moment, says he's going to get finished off, but by time he did, TJ is back into the fight, so fair enough. We'll see what TJ can do, and I guess not much. Kardia will instantly take him down. That early lead for Hive, still pretty dominant. Rebel taking the 2-1, but once Hive gets a concise push, you have to really question, is Rebel going to be able to hold on to this 2-1 for the amount of allotted time that they need to? And I'm not so certain they can, but the possibility's there. But with Identivez falling, that means F is once again going to fall to the hands of Hive in a moment where, again, Rebel doesn't need this. They are down 70 or so points, and once that hill is capped, Hive is just 35 seconds away from victory.
There they are. Honestly, if I'm a Hive teammate right now, I'd just be saying stay back, stay alive, do not get in shotgun barrels and just continue to Lancer. Inzem getting down in the process. Maybe that's the door that opens the push up. Crack trying to go wide. TJ can't clean up, though. He does clean up the kill, but not without losing his life. Elsewhere, Demise getting taken out now, and then suddenly Vasgar is a little bit more open. 2 hills capped to Rebel's name. Solurs trying to push in, and Inzem cleaning up when it matters most. That hill is saved. Triple cap not happening today. Points lead still in the favor of Hive. As the F hill does get capped up, yep, they will. 1 off 1 hill, Taylor. Pressure is piling on for Rebel now.
And Hive has a choice. Do we play offensively? Well, and I guess that opportunity just kind of opened up. Once player 1 Identivez ended up falling, Hive now is going to take matters even more so into their hands, get more insurance to take this round for sure. They're going to win in just 8 seconds or so. That's 3 down. Kardia left on the map. He can't be in 2 places at once. That's going to be a Hive round. They have now found themselves at map point, series point, and Rebel. The question is, will we see that coveted specialty sniper get placed on tank since they're on a rival spawn? It's a possibility now, and this is when I foresee that happening. So I'm curious, and you know what? That could be enough for Rebel to kind of shift the odds back in their favor. But again, will we see it? I'm not so certain.
Yeah, honestly, I think we should have seen it a little bit earlier, if anything. 2 rounds ago, perhaps, when they were originally on a rival spawn. And that way, you can actually have enough time to go through your paces with the snipe strategy. Instead, nope, they're going to keep it vanilla Vasgar, if you will, incense on both sides. So we won't see that coveted tank team fight, if you will, unless, of course, Identivez, Kardia, and whoever else later on do actually go for an all-out push to try and go for D hill control. But I really liked them with this initial when the hill was here, Taylor. I think a snipe would have been great to really push Hive out of their comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it doesn't come into play because, again, Rebel has been known to place that sniper on on tank, especially when they're at a deficit. But this time around, I guess we won't see it. Fair enough. You know, there is some pros and cons to placing a sniper there. It's something you can't undo, and you also fall behind utility-wise. So I'm curious if Rebel in their minds feels confident that they can fight back and make this competitive and stay in line with what Hive's utility is currently at with the shock and Inzem. But TJ bait and switch will take them one cank at the second. Kardia continues to play so incredibly well, and I will give him credit, Toby. Kardia has tried everything in the kitchen sink to get this victory for Rebel, but you can't do it alone. You can't do it by yourself. The domination will be thwarted for just a second, but once again underway, Addvers has to push.
Yeah, and he's just saved the day by getting that kill on that E-Hill. That gives his team time crack with that slide into Inzem, saving that Addvers' first kill. Can he get the second? It would be beautiful if he can. No, he could not. TJ just about wrapping round and finding that kill there. Hive, as the dust settles for a brief moment, they do have the score lead. TJ is not done yet with the aggression. Kardia straight off respawn. Once more, TJ says no, shuts him down on right hand. Identivez trying to capitalize on the damage. The pinch will come through. TJ will finally fall. But so many resources of Rebel have been sent to that side of the map to try and take him out. Meanwhile, Inzem is doing work elsewhere. Beautiful back A, catching out Addvers there completely around that corner. Identivez in trouble. No, he is not. He'll get the double. And now a 2v1 for Rebel to finally get some comfort back on their side of the map, as Hive have been literally all over them for the past 30 seconds.
Really have been, and that's represented in the scoreline being 140-91. But we've seen Rebel close deficits before, specifically here on Vasgar Escalation between themselves and Hive. The possibility again is here, and not placing a sniper. I think that tells me, like I said before, Toby, that Rebel feels confident that they can come back, and the utility is going to be great. And speak of the devil, there it is, a domination, and not placing a sniper has the Rebel right in line with Hive. Like I was mentioning, they've got the incense, they've got the shocks, and it's business as usual. But this is where the disables most likely are going to come out, and Rebel's going to have the first pick. Will they choose to use it here or save it for a round 9? Both are risky options.
Yeah, that is the question now as we do get to this mark in the half. They're definitely thinking about it. Kardia is hovering over the Inzem. Yep, disable will come on through. Inzem surely will just respond with his own, I'm assuming. But yeah, I mean, that round was a little bit confusing to me, because I think Hive were just getting away from themselves a little bit. So many great individual plays that, we were hyping up as casters as well, that eventually they just thought, hey, I'm just going to run at everything and we'll win no matter what. But instead, Hive, they crumble. And eventually it's just Rebel taking advantage and numbers advantage straight into the triple cap, right? I think Hive really cost the round themselves there. And unfortunately, it's a 4-3 scenario. Both Incense blocked out. Can Hive get back to it now? Can they keep up these awesome individual plays that we've seen?
Well, let's find out and see what's going to take place. This is a big round for Rebel, clearly, to tie things up, and the possibility is 100% there. Kardia forced to back roll into a shock. That damage from TJ just a little bit earlier with the snub was enough to take him down. Addvers is going to be the hero to pick him up. TJ will pump the brakes for a moment. As Hive is now starting to collapse down, they feel the advantage, and Inzem's going to clean up Kardia and Addvers. Crack, last one on the map, and I believe Hive is going to fully commit for the domination. They're going to go for it, and I think they're about to get it. Identivez surely will get a touch in a moment. He needs a miraculous 2-piece. He's not going to get it, and now it's just going to be constant touches and constant tries to just stay alive, and it's not going to happen. Hive will win Vasgar Escalation 5-3, and ultimately the series 3-0 over that of Rebel. Well done to them, and that was their final series when it comes to Split 3 Phase 2 of the Gears Pro League.
Congratulations to them. Inzem, of course, the MVP in-game with those 19 kills and all that damage done. 6 caps rather, and 4 breaks. Well played indeed. A solid series from Hive, actually. I'm quite impressed, Taylor. Clearly a lot more dominant today were Hive than they were in their game yesterday versus Noble. And it's really good to see, actually, because these are one of the question mark teams, actually, the dark horses coming into the major. Because simply put, they have the potential. I think I was using the word spark yesterday to describe them. They have the raw bags of potential. In the round before last, I was talking about it, right? They just seem to just go off over and over, different individual players with awesome back A's, wraps, and really drawing a lot of players, forced to take down the beast that are some of the players in Hive, right? Or even all the players, I should say, to give them credit. And as a result, well, I really have to say I'm very impressed with how Hive have played, and it's reassuring for me because this is definitely one of the teams to watch out for coming into the major, as they simply have so much potential and they do absolutely have the ability to take down the very top teams in the scene.
Yeah, absolutely, Toby. And Hive is, again, that team that could very well make a run, a deep run in the Summer Major, and who knows, could be a championship caliber team with some of the victories they have had. Yes, they beat Rebel. Is it surprising? I'm going to be real with you guys. It's not. I didn't expect Rebel to win a map here. I thought it was going to be a 3-0, specifically once I seen the maps in the rotation. I give Rebel credit, though. Kardia, Identivez, all having wonderful moments, but it's the team effort that doesn't really flow for me, and the team effort has been something Rebel has been struggling on since the addition of Addvers, and you do expect that, making some big changes with Demon exiting. But I would have been pretty surprised if Rebel would have kept this competitive and sent it to a map 5. And for me, that would have raised a lot more questions for Hive, I think, than it would have for Rebel. I don't expect Rebel to do well during the Summer Major. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. But when it comes to Hive, though, beating Rebel 3-0, that's exactly what you expect with how Hive has been playing as of recently, and heading into the Summer Major, they are 100% ready, it seems. Rebel has one more matchup. It's going to be on Side Station coming up next. It's going to be Team Queso versus Rebel, and after they lose 3-0 to 3-0 to Hive, hey, a win against Team Queso should give more wind in their sails, and one that I think Rebel can win, but Team Queso is also a team that has had their struggles recently, but they had a great start, so nothing is guaranteed. Super curious to see how that one is going to unfold, but at least in this series, well done to Hive. That's a pretty dominant win in my book.